Fox 5 Health News. The first penile transplant in the United States has been performed on a man whose penis was removed because of cancer. It came from a deceased donor. Thomas Manning, a 64-year-old banker from Massachusetts, says he went public to help others battling genital cancers and injuries. Doctors say they're cautiously optimistic that full function will return in the months ahead. Amazing.
And a major new study finds that working out can actually cut your risk of more than a dozen cancers.
All right, joining us, Fox 5 medical contributor, Dr. Devi Nampiaparampil. All right, this is sort of in line with everything we've heard. Exercise is just lots of benefits alongside it.
Exactly, but the thing that's different about this study is that it's such a dramatic difference. So it actually lowers your risk of cancer by about 7% in the people they studied, which was a huge number. It was 1.4 million. So most of the studies that we look at usually have hundreds, maybe thousands of people. But to get into the millions, you have a very powerful study. And certain cancers, it lowered the risk by about 20%. So esophageal cancer, stomach cancer, kidney cancer. So it's a pretty dramatic difference. And then the thinking is that, normally you'd think, okay, why would exercise help, right? That maybe these people have healthier habits anyway. Maybe they don't smoke, maybe they eat better.
That's what I was just thinking.
Right? But they actually looked at this. So they looked to see if the diet made a difference, if smoking made a difference, and actually controlling for that, exercise still made a dramatic difference. So it's something separate about exercise, which they think might be hormonal, that it's controlling your insulin hormone, which can affect, it's a growth hormone, so it controls the growth of your fat and your muscles, so maybe it's affecting that. Maybe it's flushing out toxins, or, perhaps like with other cancers, for example, breast and endometrial, it decreases the amount of estrogen that's around, and with colon cancer, it kind of speeds everything up so the toxins don't get a lot of time to sit there.
So all the above.
Right.
Exactly.
Got to do it.
A lot of different reasons.
All right, I got to get exercising more. All right, and the once feared polio virus being used to fight aggressive brain cancer. All right, this is interesting. We're hearing more and more about sort of targeting these things that are in and of themselves bad for you and using them to fight other diseases. This is the latest interesting example of that.
Sure. So I was wondering myself, why would we ever risk it with polio virus in particular, right? That's a deadly virus that we've been trying to eradicate for 50, 60 years. But the reason is, every cancer cell or every cell has different sort of docks for it to get supplies, for it to get nutrients. So for example, if you think about a city, we have airplanes land at airports, buses coming into bus stations, trains. So the same is true with cancer cells. They have ports too, which are called receptors, and their receptor matches the polio virus. So for example, you can't have a bus come in on a rail, right, into a train station. So in the same way, our chemo medications have a hard time actually getting into the cancer cell. But because the polio virus matches in terms of its shape, that receptor on the cancer cells for this particular brain cancer, glioblastoma, it could actually perhaps get through that border and get into the cell.
That was a fabulous analogy.
Yeah, that was.
I really understood that.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. So essentially, that's why they were looking at the polio virus. Now, they've been looking at it for a long time, for about 25 years. But now things are kind of moving forward. So they're going with fast-tracking this, trying to figure out, is there a way that perhaps we could really combat this cancer that kills so many people?
That is very encouraging.
And advice to that story about using HIV to kill cancer and everything. So we're getting very inventive with that, and it seems to be making some good strides. Good deal. All right, Dr. Devi.